Hello, today is a short practical look at cleaning some messy HR-style data with Power Query. It's not magic and it's not scary. It is just a repeatable cleanup so we stop fixing the same problems every week. So let's begin with the question. Have you ever lost time fixing messy data that should have been clean when it first came in? Yeah, me too. And if we were in a room, we'd probably share stories right now about issues we've seen, how dumb it can be when you look at this and go, oh my gosh, what were they thinking? So why does it matter? Well, particularly when we're looking at payroll. It prevents payroll errors. It ensures that our imports work well, and it enables repeatable data cleaning. In the end, messy inputs create those payroll errors, bad imports, and rework. So clean data lets the systems do what they're supposed to do. So what does messy employee data really look like? It's mixed formats, extra spaces, missing values, and names that tend to be jammed in one column, like last name and first name. None of this scales well. It's not easy to work with. So I'm going to show you what Power Query is, walk through a fast cleanup workthrough, and then show you how to reuse it so you don't redo the same work later. Power Query is built into Excel. It records what you do and lets you automate boring cleanup tasks. So it's ideal for recurring files and repeat mistakes. All right, I'm going to assume that you have a computer in front of you, and I'm going to ask you to open up the file that you have access to, but start by opening up a blank Excel workbook. So do not open the file yet. We want to keep our raw data separate from our cleaned output. It's less exciting than it sounds. It just means somebody sent us a file. So we're going to open up a blank workbook, and then we'll get that data and put it in a different place. All right, so that we keep the downloaded file from our customer or someone else separate. It presents accidental issues. So go to Data tab, get data from text, CSV, and then transform data. Transform is where the work happens. So that is the most common issue that we see. So start with data. You should have your blank workbook open. Go to data at the top, ribbon. Now go to get data from file and then from text CSV. Then we're going to click that transform data, not load. This is the most common error. So click transform data. If you didn't, go back, go through these steps, do it again. So what's our workflow? We're going to do some very simple things. It's a repeatable pattern. We'll fix data types, remove blanks and duplicates, clean the text, split columns, rename, and refresh. It is boring on purpose. This is the stuff that you routinely do. We're going to make sure that you do it right this time, save it, and then you can just apply them all this at once to a new file in the same format. It is reliable by design. So if you get another download from that same person, if it's the same format, the same file, just an updated time period, you should be able to apply this again. First, let's look at data types. If numbers or text or dates are confused, everything downstream lies to you, right? So when we're trying to create a pivot table, when we're trying to play with this, when we're trying to upload things, we get problems. So let's look at annual salary. So scroll to the right. I want to show this here so you see the steps. You should have brought your data in. You are now in Power Query, and you're scrolling to the right to find annual salary. Now, this salary is consistent. They've put in the correct information, but it is the wrong data type. And as we all know, that's really a problem, particularly if it goes into a bigger database and we have relationships between data. We've created joins. So let's look at annual salary. It is currently in a text format. You can see that by the ABC little icon there. So every column should indicate its data type at the top with that little icon. Now you can also see it where you see the transform tab, you see data type text. So you should be able to go to currency and switch from text to currency if you have selected annual salary. So you are now changing the data type, and you will know you've changed the data type when you look at that annual salary column, and I've given you a little screenshot here, and now you see the $ for currency next to annual salary. So that's the new icon that you see there. You will also see that change at transform and then data type text. So you can still see that. So now we're going to look at how to remove blanks. Blanks break joins, filters, and reports. We remove them early so they don't become someone else's problem later. It is so easy to remove. So if you are in the, let's say, employee ID column where we have a blank and you can see it, right-click on that top where we see employee ID, and you should be able to unselect. So everything else is a check mark. Remove the check mark from blank. And you will note that suddenly that blank row is gone and it solves your problem. You want to do that every time. Blanks get weird and they break our data. So here's our steps. 1, 2, 3. Easy. Remove duplicates. Duplicates quietly inflate counts and payroll totals. So, as we know, quiet problems are often the worst kind. They're the ones that lurk there. So how would we do this? I assume you have this open. So let's go stay in employee ID, make sure it's selected. You can see here it's green. And we're going to follow this pattern. So select the column, make sure you're on the correct tab. It should be on the Home tab. And let's remove rows. And then we'll select Remove Duplicates. And it will be able to look at it, see that we have 2 duplicate employee IDs, and remove one of them. Trim. Trim removes extra spaces. These are often invisible spaces, like leading spaces show up a little bit easier, but trailing spaces where somebody copied and pasted and there just happened to be some extra spaces, or they weren't thinking and they clicked the space bar, those invisible spaces can cause very real problems down the line. So what do? We select the columns. You can select multiple columns. So you can press Shift and select columns across. So maybe you want to check all your text columns. I would advise you to do so. So that should be pretty much everything but this annual salary. Select them all, and then you will go to Format and Trim. So make sure you're on the Transform tab, then select Format and Trim. How are we doing? Have you done it? Great. Okay, let's look at what comes next. If you have any problems, just slow down, stop the video, go back. So clean is very similar. We can select those columns, make sure you're on the Transform tab, look at Format again. We're going to click Format, and we're going to click Clean. Now, what does that do? It removes non-printing characters, because sometimes when you copy-paste, you will end up with characters that aren't supposed to be there, but they don't show up until they create problems later. So cleaning is very important. Sometimes you can't see it, and it's still a problem. Welcome to technology. All right. Now we're going to look at how we can split columns by delimiters. Okay, so what does that mean? When we look at full names, so select the full name column that you have access to, you're going to want to put it into 2 columns. Now, whoever did this was consistent in that they always put last name, comma, first name. The first time I taught this, I threw in some wildcards that were not consistent. That was that was harder work. So we're going to assume somebody was consistent. They put last name, comma, first name. But when we work with data, it's much better to have 2 columns, one that's first name, one that's last name. So we don't want 2 pieces of data pretending to be one. right? We need to pull those apart and make sure that they're accurate. So we're going to split on the comma. So how did we do that? We selected split column, and then we selected delimiter by delimiter, right? And now we're going to pick the delimiter. It's going to be that leftmost comma. And so we are going to click OK. And what will that do? That will give us 2 new columns. Now check your data. See the leading space? This is why we review results. Data cleanup itself is iterative. So that means, you have to do it multiple times. It's iterative, not optimistic. What does that mean? You just do it up multiple times and go, oh, damn it. So that's where we are. It's time to trim again. So go ahead and follow the steps to trim. Did you do it? How are we doing? Okay? All right. It's time to rename those columns. So we're going to name the columns what they actually are, last name and first name. We're going to put the right data in the right place and make it easy to identify in our Excel spreadsheet. So double click in the column header and type to rename. Can you do that first column? No, second column. Okay, good job. Click, name, last name, first name. There we go. So when it looks right, you want to close and load. Now, up till now, your data has not been run as a query. So when you press close and load, so you go to File, you go to Close and Load, that will run the query. And now we have a clean output file. So the raw file that you saved to your computer stays messy. And that's a feature, not a flaw. Remember, that's a feature, not a bug. That's not a bug, that's a feature. This is a feature, not a flaw, right? We have kept what they sent us exactly the way it was sent to us so that if there are issues later, we can look at that file and spot them. And if we make mistakes, we can go back to the original. So I would urge you to keep the data always separate. Be very careful about that. That is part of data hygiene, right? We run clean processes. Now you can reopen the query anytime. The steps are saved. So you've saved this file, and when you come back to the file, you can reopen the query. So you don't have to, future you doesn't have to remember what present you did. It's all there. You can look at it. The steps are recorded in this pane on the side. And right now, the pane on the side is showing us the query. So what do? We first go to Data in Excel. This is how we reopen our query. So we've opened the Excel file that we just saved with the new name. We go to Queries and Connections. And then we'll see this pane pop up, and we can click on the query we want to revisit. Right? Double click your query, and suddenly you're there. Now, let's say you have been given a new file and you want to update your source. And maybe you're saving everything from this customer in a particular place. Maybe with, monthly you get something from them, and or this is from your manager or someone else. And you label them with the month. So now it's time to update your source. Well, you can do it automatically. If you want to rename your source, you can do that too and run the query. But if the source file changes and you just want to change what you're directing to, point the query to the new file. So click source right there. And what happens? You get this update source dialog box. Power Query doesn't care about anything but you identifying that correct file path and that this source is in fact in the same format as your previous source. So if it's not, if something has changed, if they changed their database and they updated something, you're going to get some yellow flags that you will then need to go through and correct your query with. So be careful. Be aware of what's going on. Don't panic. But this is kind of where we are. So to replace your source file, refresh the preview, then close and load. The cleanup logic reruns automatically, and that is your payoff. So this is a screen you might want to keep up. So you can think about carefully, what if you save the source file with the same name and path? Then you would, so let's say you download what the customer sent you, and then maybe you also save in a new place that you just change it and go source file from whatever customer. Now you are going to go through our process and get into Power Query again in your Excel document and go to Refresh Preview and check to see if all your transformations worked. So if they change the format on your source file, you will suddenly notice some issues and you'll need to play with it. But if you're happy, you can click File, close and load, and that will run the query, and that's when you've updated your information. Power Query makes data cleanup repeatable, and that's the beauty of it. You do it, and if you're getting the same stuff in the same format, just with some updates, some additions, some deletions, then it's easy to run. Every cleanup step is recorded and reusable. It saves time. It reduces human error. And as we know, human error is the most expensive kind of error, because sometimes we're blind to the choices or mistakes we made, what we overlooked. So now you know what Power Query is and a little bit about what it can do. What comes next? So next time, for the next video I create, we're going to look at how you can standardize departments, job titles, or codes. Consistency itself is how our systems stay sane, how we stay sane as we relate to our systems. So that's kind of part of this process, so you can see how you can get to replacing values, and you can make that kind of common, that you go through and as people enter particular values. Now, wouldn't it be lovely if someone would update that form and just have a dialog box that would be, a drop-down box that would allow people to select the correct department name, so we didn't have these errors? That would really help, particularly if you want to create some pivot tables showing department things, maybe salary information by department or something. That would be lovely. But until then, you can create this pattern, and there's some other ways to do this even more consistently. But replacing values is an easy one. Another thing, and this is the rock stars among us, our programmers, this is the carrot for the programmers because they're going to love it, is formula introduction. So what if you were given this column and whoever entered the names was not consistent? Maybe they were replaced by someone new, and the first person put in last name, comma, first name, and the second person just put in first name, space, last name. Well, you would like this Power Query to create the new custom columns and do it consistently and put the right data in the right place. So how do we do that? We can go to the Add Column area and select Custom Column, and we'll put in a formula here. Now, the rock stars will use a formula and maybe enter it themselves to detect the format and split consistently, but the rest of us might do one of two things. One, give feedback to update the forms so names are captured correctly in the first place. But two, for now, we might use a generative AI and say, here's my problem, can you give me that format? And often you can get something from there and use it to solve the problem for today, and I'll show you how to do that. So in the end, this is the training mindset, that we prepare customer files, reuse cleanup patterns, and prevent errors instead of heroically fixing them later. Clean data itself matters. Power Query makes cleanup data repeatable. So our good workflows, they're going to prevent problems before they become tickets or angry people, none of which are fun. None of which are fun. So if you have any questions, put them, send a message to me, put them as a comment below this video. Thanks a lot. Bye.